Well, thank you for staying with us. This week, Christmas came early for the Nigerian masses as President Bola Tinubu approved a 50% slash in the cost of public transportation across Nigeria. The president also directed that all trains rides across Nigeria will be free from Thursday, December 21st to 4th of January. The directive was announced by the Minister of Solid Minerals, Dele Alake, while addressing State House correspondents at the Presidential Villa, Abuja, on Wednesday. The minister noted that air transportation is not part of the arrangement because the target of the president is the masses. I have joining me to discuss this, Olufemi Lawson. Good evening, Mr. Lawson, and welcome to the show. Compliment of the season.
Good evening.
Right, it's Christmas Eve. I don't know if the celebration has started for you there.
We have gradually, the mood is on, and the Nigerians are in the mood of Christmas. We do hope it will be a memorable one for Nigerians in particular.
All right, I mean, like I said, it's Christmas, the eve of Christmas, and you know, Nigerians have been through a lot of hardship and still going through. And I want to have your share your thought on the impact of this development by the president.
Well, very commendable, especially when you look at the revelations of the past few days as far as how this country has been able to even survive the last couple of months. There you would not only commend the resilience of Nigerians, but you also rather commend the fact that the administration of President Bola Tinubu must have been doing or taking some extraordinary step in ensuring that the country still runs, and of course our people could celebrate no matter how little at this very crucial time, especially when you look at the revelations about how deliberately people within the last administration tried to ground completely the survival of this country economically. So it's a welcome development, and I think it is one sensitive decision that this government has taken, and that must be commended. Yeah.
All right, Olufemi, so despite the fact that the federal government's intervention, the transport fares have not gone down according to report. And you know, you and I know that whenever the price of any item goes up, it really goes down. And I want to know, how can this be checked?
Well, it has to go beyond the fact that the federal government has made a proclamation. It has chosen to work with selected transport company. For every decision of government, even for every decision of the private sector, there must be effective monitoring of such process. If perhaps there are still lapses in the attempt by the federal government to have, of course, make palliatives available through the transportation subsidy as announced by the president, it can only be achievable where there are machineries in motion to ensure that there is proper monitoring of the process. Remember that the federal government does not own these private transport companies. There are tendencies for these companies to have branches all over the place. So there must be deliberate, decision on the part of the government in collaboration with the transport owners. For instance, there must be specific terminals where these transport subsidies are going to be applicable. For instance, I'm not going to believe that because GIG, for example, is part of the government transport subsidy program. Of course, a lot of people know that Jibowu, Maitu are the major terminals of this transport company, and maybe somebody willing to board the bus in Badagry or in Ikorodu would also enjoy the same subsidy, maybe practically, but so we must be practical in the approach. The government must create a monitoring mechanism that would ensure and stipulate specifically where these subsidies are available, where these reductions are applicable, to the extent that those Nigerians who actually deserve to be part of this, to benefit from this, will go to specific terminals, not just in a blanket declaration, in a blanket manner, where you don't actually know if, as a passenger in Ikorodu, in Ijegu, Badagry, or Festac, you also have the privilege of taking advantage of the government subsidy. So the government must also, in the next couple of hours, as quick as possible, be specific with those areas, those points where Nigerians can benefit from this, subsidy on transportation provided by the government.
All right, it's almost 7 months since the president started this administration. I want you to rate his performance. How can you rate the way he's been handling the economy so far?
Well, give it to President Bola Tinubu. A lot of people, especially those of us who know his antecedent, would understand that President Tinubu would naturally do the expected, especially when you look at revamping the economy. Of course, the challenges before us as Nigerians are numerous. They are beyond even economic challenges. There are issues of insecurity, issues of education, and all other issues that are critical. But if you look at the team so far assembled by the president to monitor the economy, which is very key, which is a lifeline for the survival of the country, coupled with the investment of the administration in the area of security in the last 6 months, you want to agree that the administration has not done poorly, especially when you look at the deficit that was inherited by this government. In actual fact, what we thought were the deficit as at June, July 2023 were not actually the deficits inherited by the administration of President Bola Tinubu, especially when you look at the last couple of days, the revelations coming from how individuals arbitrarily used the authority of state to grind this country, to loot this country in a manner that is unprecedented. So you must give kudos to the administration for being able to have driven the economy in the last 6 months, even though not impressive enough to the stage that it has been, that at least we could still continue to run as a country. And that if you look at the alarming state of insecurity, particularly in the northeast, southeast, and the northwest, over the last 6 months, you want to agree with that there have been improvement in the approach of the administration to tackling the question of insecurity. Though Nigerians are expecting more, but give it to the administration in the last 6 months, it has not performed truthfully.
All right, quickly before I let you go, let's also talk about the ministers. Who is doing it for you so far? How would you rate their performance so far?
Well, it's a common knowledge that today the Minister of Interior in Nigeria is, and the minister is a star boy of this administration. When you look at the performance of the ministry and the way it has directly impacted on the life of the ordinary Nigerians. Because the performance of these ministries must not just be seen from the point of how it has assisted the president or the economy, from the point of the beneficiaries of the minister of the economy. No, how has interventions of the various ministries affected the ordinary people? You must give it to the Ministry of Interior. You must give it to the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Honorable Jojo, and Mrs. Betty Edu. You must also identify the role that has been played by ministries such as the Ministry of Education in addressing fundamental issues that have created crises in the educational sector. Only recently, the president approved the removal of the university from the IPPS platform and some other challenges that education has been confronted with. So these are key ministers that are doing fundamentally well over the last couple of months. And there are also others who need to wake up to the task that they have been assigned with. And we must, of course, agree that this is going to be the first year coming from January that these ministries are going to be working with the budget of the administration of President Bola Tinubu. We do hope that some of them will have the capacity to function as much as we expect when budgets of their various ministries are passed by the National Assembly.
All right, Olufemi Lawson, thank you very much for your time and compliment of the season. We take a short break now. Welcome back, and if you just tuned in, it's Newsweek, where we highlight some of the biggest stories that made the headlines recently. A semblance of peace was experienced in River State this week as the State House of Assembly withdrew the impeachment against Governor Fubara. The lawmakers who took the decision at their sitting in Port Harcourt said their change of heart was as a result of peace deal brokered by President Bola Tinubu. The crisis, which was triggered by the political tussle between Fubara and Wike, later led to the declaration of seats of 25 pro-Wike lawmakers vacant after their defection from the PDP to the APC. However, the leadership of the opposition party noted that there was no remedy for the defectors, 25 of them. I have joining me to discuss this Best Man Jumbo is a political analyst and President Team Nigeria for Change. Welcome, sir. Compliments of the season.
Thank you. It's always my pleasure being here.
Right. You know, when the news that the president has intervened again in this River State crisis, there was some level of, excitement here and there. And all of a sudden, a whole of concerns, discussions, controversies started coming up. I want you to tell me, what you read about the mood right now, since so far this peace the president brokered?
Well, I've always been of the opinion that political issues, constitutional issues should be handled either politically or constitutionally. And the crisis in Rivers is more like a constitutional issue because there's a governor duly elected. How he became the governor is a different ballgame, but he was elected by the people and sworn in. So he has every right to do his job. Then there's the infraction where you now have 4 people claiming to be the authentic members of the assembly. That also cannot be said to be right or normal. Much as the governor was elected, you can't be a governor of a state and you now have 4 people, in quote 4 people, running the state legislature. So automatically, there's a breakdown of normalcy. Now, the president, in his wisdom, was being called upon to intervene. I was of opinion that maybe President Bola Tinubu shouldn't intervene. Because the same people that are saying the president should intervene will still be the same people that will call him a dictator later on. But thank God he intervened, using his own political maturity and experience. I'm sure he has a larger picture than you and I. He must have seen the totality of the matter on ground. And so far there's a peace, but I hope it's not the peace of the graveyard, whereby it's only peace today, and we're expecting something to blow up tomorrow again. But so far, so good.
All right, let's also talk about the role PDP played in this crisis. A lot of people think they were cold from the very beginning. They are not doing enough to secure the party. And now they are condemning the president's intervention. Why do you think they are doing this? People are questioning, where were you?
Sorry to say, PDP is just playing the ostrich. Because can we really say that the government in Rivers is a PDP government? We can't, beat our chest to say Fubara is a PDP government. But of course, on paper, he is. Now, the party has stayed aloof all the while. Even during the elections, they were not on ground. Wike did everything to ensure Fubara won the election. And you cannot confidently say Wike is a member of the PDP. Neither can you say Fubara is a member of the PDP. So they're only dancing to the gallery, trying to excite the people and trying to score cheap political gains. Because they were also the ones shouting that President Bola Tinubu should intervene. Now he has intervened because I knew it was going to be so. They see the same PDP trying to vilify the Mr. President for intervening. PDP has no say in this matter. PDP cannot.
What does that say for the party? What does that say for the party? Are they not going away, fading away?
Well, some of us wouldn't want that to happen. Even as much as I am not a PDP fan, neither am I a PDP supporter. But you see, virile opposition is good for our democracy. Therefore, I think it's time for PDP to get their acts together and play the role of opposition which they found themselves in. So I don't want the party to fade away. But unfortunately, they seem to be a party going into oblivion.
All right. Thank you so far for your contribution. But let's take a short break and Newsweek continues in a moment. Welcome back, and I still have my guest in the studio with me, Best Man Jumbo Eze. And we're talking about real estate crisis. Let's also talk about the issue of defecting lawmakers persisted. PDP saying there is no way out here. But how do you think this can be resolved? And do you think Wike, Governor Fubara and Wike are going to reconcile genuinely?
I've always been an advocate of when you are in power, the institutions you fail to strengthen will work against you when you are out of power. We've seen over the years people defecting from one party to the other. If it favors you, you tend to welcome it. But if it's against you, you tend to shout. So automatically, this is one time that the PDP are shouting that those guys are going to lose their seats. But it's maybe the court will have to settle that. But there's an injunction from the court which says that they should remain, the status quo should remain. It all boils down to the settlement between Governor Fubara and former Governor Wike. Once they're able to settle their differences, align, I think all that will be resolved. But I don't see the 25 members losing their seats.
I asked the genuine reconciliation between Governor Wike and Minister Wike and Governor Fubara. Do you see them really coming together, settling this once and all?
They might settle just because of convenience and for the fact that Rivers State is bigger than both of them. In the interest of the states, they just have to be seen to have settled. Probably, sometimes you can forgive, but you might not forget. And when you settle, does not mean you go back to how you were. Everybody will just respect themselves. You keep to your lane, day your day, and I day my day. That's what will happen. But definitely, because Mr. President has also intervened, none of them want to be seen as disobeying the intervention of Mr. President. I see them reconciling.
All right, let's move to our final story for the night. The battles of former Central Bank Governor Godwin Emefiele sees no end in the near future. Emefiele and a minister are to face trial over the scandal that rocked the Apex Bank in the last 1 year. After a 5-month probe, Emefiele, the minister, and 14 others who have been implicated in an over 26.6 trillion naira fraud have been recommended for trial. No fewer than 16 former government and CBN officials were alleged to have indulged in fraudulent use of ways and means, which stood at 26.627 trillion naira. Also, a former influential aide of former President Muhammad Buhari may be arraigned with Emefiele. Preliminary investigations into the activities of the CBN and related entities revealed many infractions, including the violation of the Apex Banks Act, alleged looting, diversion of funds, and sidelining of the board of directors. I still have Batsman with me in the studio. A whole lot has been happening since the former minister or the former CBN governor was arrested and, back and forth in that case. Do you see this indictment coming?
Even when he was arrested and they came up with the first set of flimsy reasons why he was arrested, I knew it was deeper than that. I think the first told us that he was found in possession of firearms, illegal firearms, which I've said, you can tell that to the Marines, because the consequences of Emefiele's action in his 8 days as central bank governor was so devastating on the both Nigerian economy and the Nigerian people. People actually died from that is cash.
Naira redesign.
The redesign policy.
Yes.
And it was so bold, and let me use the word braggadocious about it. So it got to a stage that I was imagining, I was in Nigeria, where a central bank governor had the effrontery to want to run for the office of the president. He didn't just stop at that. He went to court to seek that the court should grant him that permission to run even while sitting as CBN governor. So I wouldn't be surprised at all the evidences coming up against him now. Because for you to have done that, you must be involved in some financial scandals to even raise funds to contest for presidency. You and I know that running for president in Nigeria is not cheap. But he did all that, and again, unfortunately, Nigerians have short memory. Now I hear Nigerians say, leave Emefiele alone, let him go. Many Nigerians died. Many businesses were ruined. People suffered. To the extent, even the loyalists of Buhari had to take Buhari to court, all because of Emefiele's policies. Unfortunately for him, he's going to answer to those infractions. And I still see more evidences will come up in the course of these trials.
Yeah, speaking of more evidences coming up, and you also said when you started talking that his case is actually deeper, like that we thought or saw. Do you see the federal government filing fresh charges?
I'm sure the office of the Attorney General are looking at the case, are looking at the evidences they have. This case is not about to end. But I've just been somebody who believes that if they can talk with him, if he's plea bargain, if he can return to our coffers enough money, especially in forex that we need, then maybe I'll have a bit of pity for him. Anything short of that, the case should go its full hog.
Quickly, we are almost out of time. But how do you think this can be managed? The rot that rocked the Apex Bank in 1 year, how do you think this can be avoided? Please, quickly, we are almost out of time.
Well, I'm somebody who believes in the brilliance of Iwale Adu. So I think he's got what it takes to turn it around or start the process of recovery for the CBN. I'm hopeful.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution. I've been speaking with Best Man Jumbo Eze, a political analyst and president, Team Nigeria for Change. And I had earlier Olufemi Lawson join me to have all this conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
Compliment of the season as well.
Thank you. Same to you.
And as well, thank you for being part of the show. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our social media platforms at TVC News NG on our website, tvcnews.tv. Compliment of the season. I am Jacinta Agochukwu.